And this is the kind of a thing, it says, and we can't be afraid of this thing in this painter's odyssey. We can't be afraid of craft as an odyssey. It says, in one time or another, the works of Botticelli, Guido Reni, Francois Boucher, Henry Moore, Morris Louis, Jules Olinsky, Rodney Baldwin, and David Sally had been banished by fashion from serious interest. But they were never ejected from the warehouse of recollection. And I think art and memory and recollection all come together. We have a visual memory of things past and present. Future and you're clairvoyant. And people in California can do that. Fashion is a dialectical. The likelihood of these objects returning to public vogue is actually enhanced by their being quintessentially unfashionable. Think of Bouguereau and Meissonier, who we were talking about earlier. Actually, quintessentially unfashionable in the moment and waiting just off stage. This is a quote by Brecht. And this is what I think gives you hope. If you think it's going to be here forever, it's probably not. But the things that are ripe for reprisal are the things that sort of nag at us. We kind of hate it. We kind of bothers us. We're not supposed to like that kind of, fussiness. We're not supposed to be somebody who looks. We're not supposed to think about technique. But these kids are doing it, and this means something really different. And this is what you have to ask yourself. We look through a long, laborious, uninteresting, but maybe for some painters, the idea of how a 19th century painter got trained. But what does that mean in the 20th century when someone, again, is copying Charles Bargue? And this is the Bargue, and that's their copy. And I think that's quite remarkable. And what does it mean when someone paints a cast like this? This is by Shane Wolfe, done not too many years ago, maybe 3. Or something like this of the Laocoon. Or some real miracle of painting like this by Angela Cunningham. This is a boxer in bronze. Or a study of the nude. Or a study for an allegory. Or a head study. Or an etude. Or something by Jacob Collins of Canvas that starts to remember, that has that sort of introspection of wondering sort of where she's at in the 21st century, but again, something essentially human. I mean, this is all starting back at talking about reason and using our mind, but also using our eyes again. And I think that's a luxury that we need to afford ourselves for the 21st century. Or something that's like the Mona Lisa, our magic of trompe l'oeil, our mirror. Allegory is the capacity to rescue from historical oblivion that which threatens to disappear, and I think that's why we want this. I think if anything we look back, we bring, but we don't want our history. That's why we still play the violin when we could plug it in to an iPod. So allegory, and art is dealing with allegory, like Stephen Sale, Roberto Ferri, or myself. Think about beauty. And it says again from Greg Dickey's, my favorite thing, that I promise this is going to end. Our awareness of beauty's power has persuaded us against all reason that the public virtue of art exists in spite of, or apart from, and in opposition to its physical appeal. Fine. Except for the fact that beauty is precedent. That's what you see when you look at something. It doesn't ask you to think about it. Beautiful works survive without virtue, but virtuous works never survive without beauty. So I wanted to do a little postscript, and just so you'll come back laughing at my talk. This is a rocket from rocks, obviously. This is something that somebody did. And we've gone through this whole thing of thinking about, is it just about the idea, or is it about the way it's done? Because that's a rocket. Very cute, I like it. It's out of cardboard. But it certainly doesn't have the weight of some of the pictures that we looked at. And sometimes I really just want to send this to Jerry Saltz. Because without thinking about technique, art is a lot of hot air. So I thank you for coming. I really